is another story.
I don't think we are.
We will be live any moment now.
Woohoo!
And I do believe we are live.
There we go. Yeah.
There's somebody watching. But,
yeah, we are.
Be live any moment now.
We are.
Can you mute your screens, please, people?
We live.
We're live. Welcome back, HardForkers, and welcome to anybody new joining us for the first time. We have been doing a show for a number of months now called 1 Bitcoin and 32 Ethereum. A bit of a trading competition amongst myself, Mr. Gonzo, and Stefano. But really the theme of the show has been to review projects, try and find you the more interesting and better ones out there. And we're very, very pleased, extremely pleased to have Tomas from AGA token back with us. Welcome back, Tomas.
Hey there, good to be back.
We're going to give you a little round of applause, guys, for performance of AGA token since we first reviewed you. A mere 400+% that the token has appreciated. Good going. We're going to be getting a bit of a rundown from you about what the project actually does and what you've got coming up. So the whole idea here is that if you've got questions specifically for Thomas, please drop those in there. And also we'll be doing a bit of an AMA on any other general questions you've got about Bitcoin and crypto. We're here to help you. But first, Mr. Gonzo, if you could just share the overall sort of review board from all the projects we have covered, just to put a bit of context around how AGA's done it in comparison to some of the others.
Let's take a look.
I suspect you might be in pole position, Thomas.
Sure.
There we go. So yeah, I think we've had 10 odd projects on, and there you are at the top of the list.
Woohoo! Look at that, 400%.
Look at that.
All right.
In a couple months.
You guys have. I see Ian is nipping on my heels. That's fine. That's no problem. I love Ian.
Yeah, it's been an interesting couple months. You know, we kind of started this show just at the tail end of that summer pump, right? Mini alt season possibly, right? From what, April to August, and then a little mini bear, September, October, November, December, maybe. Seems like we're starting to pull out of it here in January, so everything's kind of going up fast again. So
awesome. Well, there you go, viewers. That's the performance of the AGA token since we have been reviewing it, which I believe was pretty much right when you launched, wasn't it, Tomas?
Yeah, it was shortly after that.
Yeah.
So I appreciate the support and I appreciate the reviews. I mean, look, the pressure's on, right? Basically, what I'm asking myself, what I'm asking the team is, what do we do next to do another 10x, right? And to deliver another 10x on top of what it is today. And we have a plan for that. We have a plan for the next 3 months, which we believe will deliver those type of returns. And then we have a long-term plan is, and that's not a plan, that's a dream. That's like, okay, what about if we do deliver this next 10x, how do we deliver the 10x after that? And that, of course, gets a little more blurry and a little more difficult to answer. But as I told my team and my friends, let's focus on like one phase at a time. Let's deliver the next 10x, and then we'll figure out how we go from there. As those are,
Thomas, can we back it up? Can we back it up for a second? Because obviously people have seen the massive price appreciation there. Could you go right from the top here and just give us the basic overview of exactly what the project does?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm trying to really simplify that. Basically, AGA has a mining facility that right now mines about $100,000 worth of Bitcoin each month. We then have a governance token, which is the AGA token, which allows the governance members, the people who control the token, who have a 10,000 or more AGA, to vote and prescribe how we spend the profit from the mining facility. And basically, we can either spend it to buy back AGA token, which we are doing at large scale in January and February. We can create more liquidity. So when you want to have a large trade, you don't impact the price greatly, right? So there's volume and liquidity on Uniswap. So we are adding to the liquidity pools. We are also paying rewards on January 22nd. So in 2 days here in Seattle, we'll be paying another our biweekly reward, which is approximately 1% every 2 weeks, or 24% APR a year on our AGA pool. Those rewards do not add to inflation. Those rewards are paid for by the buybacks that we do with the mining profits. And then of course we can also reinvest, right? We could buy more miners, which a lot of the governance members are interested in doing as they are seeing results of the initial purchase of miners. But basically we have this governance board, and we argue, we discuss, we vote, and that's kind of like what governs the next few months of AGA. And that's kind of like what we are up to right now. I can tell you that everyone is pretty much in agreement that for the next few weeks they are expecting large buybacks, right? So we sell our Bitcoin for USDT, transfer it to Uniswap, and we buy back AGA, and we build out our treasury. And then we can use that AGA to pay mostly rewards that are now paid out to people without releasing new liquidity. It's the tokens that we bought back, so the inflation remains very flat or at zero. That's more or less what we do. It's relatively straightforward.
Yep, that's what I like about it.
Nice and simple.
Mr. Gonzo, or do you have any questions you want to kick off first?
Buybacks, that's you're just doing a flat like $1,000. Is that every day for a month?
No, so the Uniswap fees are kind of like killing us. It's basically between the transfer, the sell Bitcoin, transfer, and then do the transaction is between $50 and $100 depending on the time to do the buyback. So $1,000 doesn't make sense. So what we are doing right now, we're basically going to get to about $10,000 and see what it does when we do it at one time. It's part of the discussion on Discord. Do we do 5,000 a week? Do we do tranches of 5,000 or 10,000, or try to do something massive and really, show the community the power of these buybacks and maybe go for like 25,000? We have tried to do $1,000 a day. That has become too expensive. So right now we are building up the inventory, and we'll do a larger buyback after the January 22nd, after we pay the rewards.
Right.
Thomas, the success of the token, to what degree is it really sort of tied to the price appreciation of Bitcoin? Could you maybe explain that to the audience a bit more?
Yeah, absolutely. So as Bitcoin has increased in value, our profitability, how much money we make every day, every week, has increased drastically, right? We've overall, we invested little north of $200,000 in our equipment. That equipment on the street right now, if you were to sell it used, is worth between $600,000 and $800,000, depending who you ask for price. It's used equipment, and we are profiting almost $100,000 a month. So the investment of $200,000 to get $100,000 a month looks like a brilliant idea in retrospect, right? Of course, when we were making that investment, it didn't look as rosy. Our ROI, our payback time frame was much longer, but thanks to the Bitcoin price appreciation, we find ourselves now being quite fortunate. And that will be the case for the next few months. And if Bitcoin continues to appreciate, maybe, well into 2022.
Yeah. Any comments on how Bitcoin is tracking at the moment? Did you expect it to move as rapidly as it has?
No, I haven't. We would have been very happy at AGA and still doing buybacks and still having a really nice token, a nice run up with Bitcoin at 25,000. I think that's, where my head was at, that at the beginning of this year, we will be getting over 20, maybe in the mid 20s, kind of like reaching the ATH, the all-time high. I did not expect to see a print of 40,000. Exciting, scary, but love it.
2x all-time high, just like that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm the hardcore Bitcoiner on the channel, and I think it's got a hell of a lot more upside. Absolutely, I think we've got some real supply issues facing us. In fact, I helped somebody buy a decent amount of Bitcoin today, and I don't know what was happening with the exchange, but it literally took hours for that transaction to go through. I think
it's interesting times.
Yeah.
Grayscale buying the supply.
$70 million worth of money went into Grayscale in one day.
Yeah. Well, I mean, since I have background in mining, there's an interesting concept that I'm not sure that many people understand.
$700 million that was, guys.
Yeah. Right now what's happening with miners, we don't have to sell the Bitcoin we mine. We only have to sell about maybe 1 out of the 5 we mine to pay for our expenses. The other 4 that we mine, we can sell, but we can also hold on to it. We don't have bills that we have to pay. So it's an interesting dynamic where Bitcoin price appreciates quickly. Miners actually don't have to sell it. So that they actually pull back, and you almost get like this balloon effect where the supply really, really dwindles because there's no reason to sell it, because we pay our bills with 1/5 of the Bitcoin that we mine. So that's
Thomas, what is your cost of mining a Bitcoin?
It's about a fifth. It's about $10,000. We've done the math. The last time I've done it, we break even at $8,000 Bitcoin, which is our cost to mine 1 Bitcoin. That might have changed the last 2 weeks. The difficulty has gone up by about 10%. So let's just call it an even 10,000. That's still amazing, right? Considering what a Bitcoin sells for. And we are not the most efficient miner. We operate in US, and the costs here are slightly higher than in other parts of the world. But I would say an average cost to mine a Bitcoin out there, it's just shy of 10,000 across the industry.
Okay, excellent. Stefano, any questions from you at this point, sir?
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, congrats on the result, because I remember the first time that we spoke during the interview, and you took on board not only suggestions, but you have 100% proved tons of people in the space how to build a business. So congratulations on that. That's absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
Question on that, because you mentioned in the first interview that we got that ideally you want to get to that situation where you're building a business, so not only on the cost of mining the Bitcoin, but also paying for the operation and kind of the entire infrastructure that there is around. The first part of the question is basically that, how is going on that side? Is the team being paid a salary now, or every single cost involved being paid, or are you still focusing more on building that community, the buying back and so on? And the second thing is more in a worst case scenario. You mentioned that right now you can keep that 4 out of 5 of the supply in the pocket for the community, for rainy days, whatever it is. If let's say that we have a crash, let's say that for whatever reason it really happens, the BTC goes back down to you say that you're profitable at 10,000. Let's say that we go back down to 5,000, 6,000. How long can actually AGA survive before being in a tough situation in that time?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So in terms of our kind of fixed cost and paying our team, not really doing that. There isn't really a team with a salary or anything like this. We have a number of moderators on our Telegram, and we do pay them, but those are relatively low cost to the amount of money that we are bringing in. I'm not taking a salary. This is still an investment type of a thing for me, where I want to see AGA appreciate and benefit from that. And I don't ever intend to take salary from this business. We are talking to marketing PR companies. I do need help on the outreach, community building, marketing. So we are considering doing that. that wouldn't be a fixed cost. That would be, maybe a 2-3 month contract. So in the case of a crash, we could basically walk away from those costs. Now, in terms of how long do we get to live? So it's not only how much cash we have in a bank, because basically if Bitcoin were to go to 5,000, we have savings to basically go for, maybe 3-4 months before, well, here's the interesting thing, before what happens, right? We don't have to sell the equipment. At that point, the equipment is not expensive. So what we basically do, we turn it off. And as we turn off the equipment, our cost of operating it goes to very close to zero. The other thing that happens, we are not the only one turning off the equipment. That happens across the industry, and the difficulty goes down. And now all of a sudden you can make money on $5,000 Bitcoin, because half the other miners have turned off their older equipment, their S9s, etc. So it's hard for me to answer the worst case, how long we get to survive, but there are a lot of things we basically turn off. Not much of a overhead, not much of a fixed cost for us. So theoretically, we could go on for a year or two and then dust off the equipment and turn it on. I've done that with my L3s. About 2-3 years ago, Bitmain came out with a script LTC miner called an L3. Most of people had them off for the last 2 years. They sold in bulk for $50 a piece, sometimes with a power supply. We got like a container of them and just sat there. We turned them on when they were making about 10-12 cents a day, turned them off. Now they are making 80 cents a day each, right? So boom, we turn them back on. So that's part of this industry, is that as long as your electricity costs are not fixed, you're able to turn on and turn off things. Now, some things are fixed. We have to pay for some fees, right? There is, taxes, there is some, insurance, things like that. But with bulk of the cost being variable, I think we can take on a Bitcoin if we were to go down. Now, I don't think it will. I think we are still, looking at all-time highs from now on. I think 2021 is going to be another 2017. That is what I expect. But if we had to, we could survive the winter.
On that, you on our interview the first time, I think that you almost nailed the prediction of BTC price by the end of the year. I think that you say something like 28 or 32. I don't remember exactly.
I said 25, and the reason I said 25, I had a bet with a good friend of mine, and I won the bet. I think the week into the year, and I think I almost came to 30. I think you're right. But no, my bet was 25, so I probably was saying the same thing. It wasn't a large bet. It was, like $10, but still.
Still a win. That's the important part.
Yeah.
On the other side, because obviously we talk about the bad. Moving on the good, you mentioned wanting to bring the AGA from here to another 10x, which actually will bring the value to around $20 a token and a market cap of 140 millions.
No, that's CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko they don't really do the math correctly. So right now we have 3 million AGA, less than 3 million in circulation.
Mm-hmm.
So we have also in the last few months, you guys probably have seen this. I know you've mentioned it on your last show. We have burned something like, I forgot now, it was like 5 million AGA tokens. So the market's based on the circulating supply at $20, we would be at 60 million. It would be a very large number for us, without a doubt.
So is that something that let me try to be the negative voice here. Is that something that can be brought in by air brackets simple buybacks, or is the mix of all of these things on the buybacks, the rewards, the 1% that you mentioned on the staking, all of these things enough for that? We add also obviously the marketing effort, so it's that path for the next 3 months that is going to bring the 10x in your opinion, or is there a joker in the pocket that is going to be thrown at that point, something new, something completely disrupted?
Yeah, we don't have a joker. So the next 3 months is hard work. And it's the things that you have mentioned. It's buybacks, it's rolling thunder of marketing, AMAs, videos, paying rewards on the pool. Then as we look into Q2, so April through June, that is where we would look for that additional scale, right? That's where we are going to look at, maybe a top 10 centralized exchange, right? We have the issue with Uniswap is being very large. I think everybody's looking at centralized exchanges even harder now. I've learned that if it's not in top 10, it almost doesn't matter. We are on FAT BTC. We are on a couple other ones. Great, you can buy AGA there, but it doesn't get you the halo effect. So in Q2, we are really thinking about how do we get on that major exchange, and we know we have to pay for some of that. So it's not just thinking; it's planning for it financially. And as I said, significant push around marketing, maybe a PR agency, etc. That's Q2. So that's starting April, planning starts before that, but that's where I'm looking for that, for that significant jump in awareness and the opportunity around the token.
Would that require a stable BTC or a keep growing up BTC for that, in your opinion, to be achieved?
Well, stable at 35 or 40,000 is pretty good for us. So the plan is assuming that it stays in that $30,000 to $40,000 range. If it were to drop below 30, it slows things down because basically we have less funding to invest. If it were to go above 50, it accelerates things, right? It's I think at 65,000 BTC, we are up to $200,000 a month type of a thing, right? So it really gets, appreciation of the price of BTC could have a real impact on how quickly we can execute our plan.
That's cool. That's cool. I mean, I think that you are on the right track. You 100% at this point, as I mentioned at the beginning, you appear to know exactly what you're doing at this point.
Thank you.
It's super cool. Like, congrats on that, for real.
Thank you. And look, we are always looking for miners. Right now, if you just go to the internet broker and would like to buy miners, they're extremely expensive. The math doesn't work out for us. We have our contacts. We work very closely with some of the suppliers, and we feel that we'll have an opportunity to buy potentially new equipment or new equipment for new coins, potentially the next script miner or another or a Dash miner where we can make, or a Zen or a Zcash miner where we can get a little better price per performance. Right now, Bitcoin miners are sold out and they are ridiculously expensive. But once we can buy equipment that's not ridiculously expensive, we will do that. And then in turn, that will help with our profitability, relatively quickly. The equipment shows up and within a couple of weeks, it's up and running and making money for everyone.
Cool.
Thomas, I was a Bitcoin only channel for quite a number of years before my co-hosts came along, and we started educating me on everything else happening in the crypto space. Just more of an interest question here. A lot of the Bitcoin community are pretty savage. If it's not Bitcoin, it's complete garbage. Have you had any sort of pushback or comments from the Bitcoin community? I mean, obviously your business is very much based around the success of Bitcoin, but it's a token. It's quite right. Sort of, any humorous moments or difficult moments?
No, I'm glad you asked because I expected them, because I am a Bitcoin miner, Bitcoin maximalist that runs on DeFi and uses Uniswap and trades with Ethereum. I believe that's okay. I mean, it's an ecosystem. It's not just one thing. I absolutely believe in Bitcoin. 85 or 90% of our miners are Bitcoin. We do have some Ethereum miners, extremely profitable. The most profitable miners that we own right now, we have the InnoSilicon A10 Pro models. So we've been lucky to acquire those when Ethereum was in the $200-300 range. We also, as I mentioned, we have Litecoin miners. We will mine anything that's profitable. Mining is just converting electricity, energy into Bitcoin or USDT or Ethereum, whatever you choose at the end. So I'll mine anything that makes sense, but the reality is that the biggest, baddest coin to mine is Bitcoin. That is where that's the big game. Everything else is a little more experimental, or you could probably make good amount of money there, but also lose a lot of money when that coin disappears and you were basically sitting with some miners that have nothing to mine.
Right. Okay. Mr. Gonzo, any thoughts, questions, comments?
There's a couple things. So obviously you're building up your treasury, I guess, right? And we're talking about those BTC gains, but those are like unrealized profits, right? Do you guys have any kind of like financial plan to realize some of those profits, like wrapping the BTC and putting it on like Celsius, or like using one of these interest-bearing apps, right, where you can actually make profits on your profits, right? Sort of like a fund manager.
Not yet. We are definitely thinking about it. So right now, the closest we have gone through that is, if you look at our liquidity pools, they are growing in size. And what you have there is AGA and Ethereum. So it's an interesting dynamic, because we also get a benefit of Ethereum appreciating, because it's pushing the value of the pool up. So there is a play there, and we are looking at it. Now, what you were asking is, okay, what about if we take those tokens and move them to interest bearing? Would it be like a centralized one or a decentralized one, like Aave, or anything, from Andre, Cronje, all of that. We are looking at it right now. Our community Discord basically said, look, we now see the miners are running, but the last 20 are coming online again on the January 21st. That's our last 20 S19. So that's kind of like the last set of miners we bought that are not online yet. Really, we're just getting going. What the community wants to see is a significant buyback. We need to take 20, 30, 50, $100,000 and spend it on buying back AGA for people to, they believe, but it's a little different when you can actually see it and look on Etherscan and go, wow, 10,000. Oh, wow, another 10,000, another 10,000. Okay. I think we need to prove to our community that we can do that before they will go, stop buying back. How do we grow this business? How do we get more machines? How do we do something around, earning interest, or maybe creating a pool with wrapped BTC in addition to the Ethereum pool? Absolutely discussed with our friends and community, not there yet.
Is it so there's no interest in stacking fiat, stacking USDTs?
I think we are a year too early.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, that's
but we
interesting.
can, right? We had at one point a small liquidity pool, AGA USDT. I think at one point that will be the one, the right pool to stack liquidity in. But I think we are months before that.
Right. Or I mean, you could even do something like wrapping the BTC and then joining the wrap BTC USDT pool kind of thing, right?
Yep. Cool. Or doing Balancer allows me, 3 coins. Maybe it's like USDT and wrap BTC and AGA, right?
Yeah.
So because then those tokens, there are some balancer pools. I've been playing with some things with smaller amounts, learning, experimenting. It's easy to withdraw from those pools. I mean, you pay, $100 of fees, etc. So we are looking forward. So what you're asking is not, I've never thought about it. We did, but we are not ready to do anything or announce anything just as of yet.
Right.
100% focus over the next few weeks will be on buybacks and basically proving that it's real, that we are, honest about it.
Nice. I've noticed there's a couple other projects popping up with a similar idea. I don't know if you've seen these yet.
I've seen one on Ethereum. I would love for everyone to send me those. Frankly, I'm a friendly guy. I would love to advise them, help them if they have some questions. I can also look at them pretty quickly and tell you if they are real or not. There are probably a couple, things that I'll just understand from like what equipment they are running and where I can tell you very quickly if they are real or if they are just making stuff up. So if you want to run something by me, I'm happy to help. Or if you are starting one of these projects and have some questions or, would like to learn some things that I wish I've done differently, I'm happy to jump on a call with you and help you.
Yeah, the one that's come up is called Mars Project.
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, and the ticker is PBTC35A, and they were doing the stuff that we were talking about, where you stake and then you get your rewards in WBTC, wrap BTC, which is kind of interesting. But it's just cool to see that the idea that you had in standard crypto fashion. Months later, there's like 5 more projects doing the same thing, right?
Yeah.
And it's you got to weed through it and figure out which was the real one and which one's just a knockoff and which one's doing it legit. So
yeah, I would love to see that. The fees, one of the things that's worrying everyone in the space is the fees, right? The fees are slowing down innovation because you cannot pay, $1 or $5 or $3 per day. You have to operate with much larger numbers, or you have to run things on a spreadsheet and pay maybe monthly or quarterly. Well, that's not DeFi. That's going back to centralized things. So I'm following, other projects that will help us with the fees down the line. I think Ethereum needs like a second layer, like Bitcoin has Lightning. I think we need something like this on Ethereum. There's probably a bunch of other ideas, but I'm looking for something yes, maybe to invest, but I'm looking for something to use. Like I'm actually looking for solutions for my community that I can use for staking and distributing rewards in a way that allows me to do it for somebody who has 100 AGA. Right now I have to limit, the pools, etc., to 1,000 or 800 AGA, or else it costs way too much in fees where it just doesn't make sense to stake or to earn liquidity rewards. So I'm looking at the different options there, but there isn't anything glaring yet.
Stefano is doing the same thing, looking for a second layer technology. He's quite bullish on XDAI.
Yeah.
Hey, we got a question come in here. Maybe do we?
Yeah, go for it.
Thomas, the question is, from Hugh Twycross. He says it looks like an awesome project. He's wondering where he can stake his AGA tokens. Are they held in a centralized wallet?
So right now, the wallets that are supported are decentralized Trust, MetaMask, Coinbase wallet, not Coinbase application, but they have a wallet that's decentralized. So that's where you would hold them. Staking, we did staking with Unifier FRM, but that's now closed. The best way to earn the highest reward is to add liquidity to either the AGA Ethereum pool or the AGA AGAR pool. AGAR is a derivative of AGA. The AGA AGAR pool still pays 24% APR. We pay out weekly, and you don't have to stake it. All you have to do is add liquidity, and then we just look at the contracts at who has added liquidity, and the wallet that has liquidity every 2 weeks receives AGA tokens.
Nice.
There is no need to stake your Uni V2 tokens.
All right. Standard DeFi.
I would just go to AGA AGAR pool and basically get almost 1%. It's like 0.9% every 2 weeks.
Okay. And how does it work on AGA ETH? What's the percentage there?
Half. It's 12% a year. So every 2 weeks is about 0.5%. 0.5%. We may have to. You will still earn it every 2 weeks, but I may have to start paying it out every 4 weeks because of the fees, right? Because some of the earnings are now basically less than the fee to send it.
Cool. All right. Nice. That's good. Stake them up.
Yeah. So Thomas, you picked the price of Bitcoin at the end of last year pretty much perfectly. Can you do that again?
What's the date? What am I?
Yeah.
Which date? What's my?
I don't know. I'll give you a couple. Middle of the
month.
year. End of the year.
Middle of the year?
Yeah, June. Let's go for June. Price of Bitcoin in June.
100.
100K. Nice.
Yep.
Bullish.
And it's gonna double again by the end of the year. I think I'm willing to bet small amounts of money. I'm not a betting person, but I'm willing to bet, like $10.
We're all betting people in crypto. What are you talking about?
That's true, I guess. We will see a $200,000 print in year 2021. I don't know if we will close the year above or below, but we'll see that print.
Could you tell us a bit about your sort of background in mining? And I mean, look, it's probably the most difficult subject that I try and explain to people. And I don't know if you can give us some super basics about how it works. So we're trying to do, obviously it's great to have, the founders on for these projects, but we're also trying to sort of get a live AMA, I think only the second one we've done, just to help people understand the space. We're obviously seeing a flood of newbies coming into the market at the moment and giving that sort of basic education. So how the hell would you explain mining to somebody?
Sorry, one thing. You just called BTC 200K by the end of the year. I think nobody cares about how you mine BTC anymore. Everybody's just like, buy more, buy more.
Buy some Argo token as well. It's outperformed BTC.
Yeah, stack those sats. Look, mining. So different ways to think about it, but basically you need a lot of electricity and expensive equipment, and then that equipment produces on regular basis Bitcoin for you. That's kind of like a very basic way to look at it, or from a simple business, right? How would this operate? As long as you have a place with low cost electricity that can run this equipment, you can mine Bitcoin to a degree, right? The larger the scale, the more complex it gets. You need backups, you need network switches, things like that. But that's, mining. In my opinion, the trick to mining is understanding that, like any business, over time becomes commodity. So during the winter, when Bitcoin was flat at 10,000 for 2-3 years, mining wasn't the most profitable business, but you could still make 10, 15, 20% a margin, profit on annual basis. So nothing super exciting right now. That's what traders make in a day now on, just betting on Ethereum going up. But as a normal business, it's still very respectable, right? A lot of businesses operate at 10, 20% a year profit margin. As long as you get your electricity costs to minimum and don't overpay for equipment so your depreciation doesn't kill you, you can make it work during the cold winter times. And then the reason you do that is because when Bitcoin's going up as quickly as it is right now, it gets really, really fun for 12, 18 months where you are ahead of everybody else who's now trying to get into this game, while you've already developed you kind of like built your land and you were just harvesting from the investment that you've made from the previous years. So I've lived through the winter and we survived. We have a lot of dusty equipment that we are turning back on, and laughing at our community, kind of like going, I'm glad we survived because it wasn't that fun, but we are back now. And I assume, in 2023, it will be boring again. We'll be still making decent profit as compared to any other business, but it won't be as crazy as it's going to be in 2021.
Got to be a nice feeling making your own money, Tomas.
Yes.
Indeed.
Yes.
It doesn't grow on trees, people. It comes out of Bitcoin miners.
That's right.
Grows on computer chips.
Grows on computer chips.
Grows on computer chips, yeah.
We've just had Ian Friend join us. Are you there, Ian? There he is.
Morning, folks, or evening. I know there's a wide range of time zones involved in this call.
Hey, Ian.
I think we got the four
Tomas, how are
corners
you?
covered.
Doing very well.
I apologize. I'm a little groggy now. It's quite early here for me, but happy to be on with you guys anyway.
No problem. Excellent. So, look, Thomas, we'll circle back with any additional questions for you on Argo. But once again, congratulations on how your project's performing. Outstanding stuff. Keep it up.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Ian.
See you guys.
See ya.
Welcome back. Oh, you can more than welcome to sit in with us, Thomas. Please hang around. Ian, good to see you again. I think first time we spoke, you guys were just getting things off the ground, so we're eager to hear how things are going. Mr. Gonzo, do you want to bring up our reviewed project board once more so we can see how Ferrum Network has fared since we first had Ian on?
Okay. Ferrum, doing well. Oh, it's 4% down this week. Oh no.
Ian, what are you doing?
No, I'm just kidding.
It's a good buy the dip opportunity.
Exactly. Buy the dip, buy the dip.
There you go.
Only 360% since we last talked, which is quite spectacular. Nice one. And since then you've launched FerrumX, right?
Yeah, God, there's been a whole lot of activity since we last spoke.
Can't keep up so much.
Yeah, we're working hard over at Ferrum to bring value to our community. But yeah, the launch of FerrumX was a big one. The continued growth of our staking as a service business. And then now the big thing that everyone's talking about is something we're calling Operation Iron Mountain, which is basically a centralized exchange listing combined with a small VIP fundraise for sort of the top Ferrum holders, and then followed by a VIP staking round for everyone who contributes to that raise. They get invited to this special staking pool with very high APY paid in FerrumX, as a matter of fact.
Nice.
Ian, I'm just going to get you to circle back to a few basics for people that aren't maybe just sort of seeing the show for the first time. Obviously, they've seen your numbers since you've launched. I'm sure that sparked some interest. Could you just go from the top and give us the elevator pitch, the basics on Ferrum Network?
Yeah, absolutely. So Ferrum Network is really called a DeFi ecosystem, and we have 4 products, numerous, two of which are wallets, a fiat on-ramp, staking as a service business, which is used by over 50 projects. We've launched an incubator recently, an advisory sort of arm of the business. So it's really, it's sort of difficult to encapsulate in just one sentence, but I call it a DeFi ecosystem, and our goal is to bring about mass adoption of cryptocurrencies ultimately. And so, yeah, we've had tremendous progress since we last spoke, which I'm very happy to report.
Very good. So, yeah, give us the rundown. I sort of cut you off there a wee bit, but yeah, where's it at and what's coming up?
Yeah, so the 2 things I think that have proven most successful in our ecosystem are the staking, which, like I mentioned, is used by many projects. In fact, AGA is one of them. Proud to say. Great project. Hopefully get to work with them again soon.
I was going to say, are you planning another pool with them?
Yeah, that's the hope.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we launched two new kinds of staking technology, and one of which seems quite applicable to AGA's goals and what they're trying to achieve. So we've been just Thomas and I, who, by the way, I've known Thomas for a long time. Consider him a good friend of mine and a good friend of the project. And hopefully we get to work.
I didn't actually know that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So Ian, yes, we want to do what we discussed. So we'll be introducing a new round of staking. I'll let you talk about your product, but we will be taking advantage of the new innovations coming out of Ferrum.
Very exciting. Yeah. So the staking as a service business has really done well. And I think it's been great for us, not just from a business standpoint. I mean, it brings us revenue, et cetera, but it has allowed us to expose Ferrum to all these different communities in kind of an organic way, right? Because when a project signs up for the Ferrum staking, yes, it's a white label product on the project's website in most cases. but it says, in partnership with Ferrum, powered by Ferrum, we do marketing around it for, the project. So in that sense, it's allowed us to sort of spread our tentacles all over the crypto sphere. And it's just been great to work with a lot of new exciting projects. AGA's one of them, probably one of the better ones, frankly. So that's been a big hit over the last probably 4 or 5 months. It's been really become our core business, I would say.
Yeah.
Nice.
Ian, maybe I'll add something here. So at AGA, we call ourselves, or we use DeFi, we use decentralized finance, but we don't have the skills in it. We do not have programmers, we don't know Solidity. So Ferrum is a fantastic partner for us because they deliver the DeFi for AGA to be a DeFi token, right? So we use the DeFi tools, the DeFi ecosystem, the way of thinking, but we need Ferrum to make it work. We are just a customer to some degree in this case.
Well, I consider you guys a partner, but yeah, no, that's it. I think, and there's a lot of projects in AGA's position who either may not have the technical know-how in certain areas, or maybe focused on different areas of their project. Like they don't want to build staking. That's not their area of expertise. But staking is a very powerful incentive tool, especially for new projects that may have just raised funds, investors looking for something to do with their token. You can either give them staking or they're going to sell it in most cases. Yeah. So new projects are really eager to take advantage of this technology. So we've been fortunate to work with, like I said, over 50 different projects on the staking, and more sign up each week. I mean, it's just incredible, the demand for this product.
Nice. Hey, Ian, can you get into a bit of detail? Like you said that you've got to progress the staking technology and there's some improvements. What does that include?
Yes. So there is, in fact, 7 different kinds of staking technology. I mean, at its core, we call it smart contract based staking. So it runs on Ethereum. It works for any Ethereum based token. And it's essentially a lock and earn mechanism. So you send your tokens to this smart contract staking address. They're locked for a period of time. And then based on how long they're locked or staked for, you earn a corresponding rate of rewards. That's sort of basic at its core. But like I said, there's so many different options, different technologies sort of that are an offshoot of that. So we have multi-token staking now, which allows you to stake one token but earn rewards in a different token. That's quite useful for, say, a project like AGA or even Ferrum that has a dual token ecosystem. You're seeing more and more of that lately. We have NFT staking, which allows you to stake and then earn an NFT, which is really cool, and something we're going to be utilizing in the near future, and we start to dive into NFTs ourselves. Liquidity staking is probably one of the most popular ones. So that allows the staker to add liquidity to a Uniswap pool and stake the UniV2 token to earn native tokens in rewards. And that's good for projects because they're able to add a bunch of liquidity to their Uniswap, and it's locked up, so they know, okay, this liquidity is staying here for like 2 months, 3 months, whatever. And then the ones we just launched. Oh, another one that's really good, we're using it now, and many projects use it, is VIP staking, which allows us to whitelist addresses and say, okay, only you guys are allowed to stake. And then how do you get into that pool? How do you get invited to that pool? Well, you satisfy certain preconditions that the project sets for you. So a lot of teams say, anyone who invests in the pre-sale, you guys can be invited into this exclusive VIP pool. Or maybe you did stuff for us on social media that we want to incentivize. Okay, now you guys get to come in. So there's a lot of different things. And then the ones that we discussed with Tomas is sort of an open-ended staking, which allows you to stake and unstake at any time. It's a lot more flexibility than our old model. And then finally, we have a continuation staking, which if you already have our staking and you want to keep people in the pool, you can incentivize them to do that. And you just add rewards and they stay staking, and those tokens stay locked up. So there's really something for, there's so much, and there's something for every project. But yeah, it's been great for us.
Super cool. We had a question come in here from the chat. The question is, what's the status of FRM coming to a global exchange?
Yes.
When exchange, when Binance? When
I would
Binance?
advise. Well, I can't say which exchange it is, of course, but we everyone knows, or not everybody, but everyone's following us knows that we are close to listing on a much bigger exchange, tier one exchange,
Ooh,
which I'm quite excited
nice.
about, and I think it's going to solve a lot of problems for us in terms of liquidity. And I know one thing that AGA talks a lot about. I was listening in earlier, is these crazy gas fees.
Yeah.
And they're only going to get worse as Ethereum goes higher, as Tomas points out. So we needed to give our community another place to trade Ferrum, aside from Uniswap or BitMax, which is our current biggest exchange. But it's not a global recognized exchange that most people would know about. So we wanted to solve that problem. We had an opportunity to list, and if you stay tuned to the announcement channel in the next few hours here, you'll learn a lot more about it.
Oh, the
shortly.
next few hours. Wow, that's great.
Yeah, things happen quick at Ferrum.
Whoa, good timing. Soon, really soon. That's cool.
It won't be the listing itself, mind you, just the
Oh.
announcement of which exchange it is.
So this was
Oh.
the announcement of the announcement.
Yeah, more or less. But you have to do that, right? You have to tell people where the listing will be, so that
Yeah.
they can make an account or what have you. So that's normal procedure.
Well, we'll just keep you on here for an hour and then you can drop it live.
It'll be more like 4 or 5 hours, but sure, why not?
Okay. Exclusive.
So
Nice,
buy
that sounds
now,
good.
people. You got 4 hours.
Yes. So that's cool. That's good. That's good news. New exchanges.
Stefano, any questions from you, sir?
Yeah, Ian, you mentioned like that you want to like launch the VAP part and so on. I don't know if you can disclose that, but I'm still gonna try and ask the question. How much money is gonna cost to be a VAP member of that?
Well, so again, this is largely technology that is utilized by other teams. So those teams decide the parameters of how do you get into that VIP pool. In the case of Ferrum, I mean, we made it pretty simple. We said anyone who holds 50,000 or more Ferrum in their Unifier wallet, which is the Ferrum wallet, will get invited to participate in this mini fundraise, and then also the VIP staking pool. So it's not that hard to get in. Although, of course, 50,000 Ferrum is a lot more costly than it was about a month ago. But such is life in the bull market, I guess.
Yeah, it's fair. I mean, it wouldn't be funny if it's not like that, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. We always try to accommodate the new people coming into Ferrum, and we have a lot of benefit sort of systems built into the ecosystem of Ferrum. Like, for instance, something else that's been very popular these days is our Incubator, and the ability to get into pre-sales of these good projects by holding Ferrum. And so that's another thing where if you hold 50,000 Ferrum, you can get a guaranteed allocation in the projects that we incubate. And that's been, frankly, from a utility standpoint and a demand for the token standpoint, that's probably been more impactful than anything else we've done recently. Simply because there's tremendous demand for these good new projects, and they're usually really hard to get into the pre-sale. So by sort of incubating through Ferrum, our community has the right to invest in the pre-sale. And just to throw out some numbers, the first one we did, Bondly, has done very, very well. It's a great project. They did a 17x from the pre-sale price that we gave our investors. Pools, which is the one we just did, launched last week. We did the staking for that one, and also Bondly too. Did a 20x as of yesterday. So, those returns are not necessarily easy to come by. And what's nice about the incubator is that the investor knows these are not only fully vetted projects, we're actually throwing our full support behind them. Like, it's full advisory from Ferrum and the DuckDAO team, who's partners of us in this. Obviously fundraising, marketing support, tech support with the staking and other things. So the the Ferrum community, the investors, can be reasonably sure, obviously no guarantees, but they can be reasonably sure that this is at least a good, it's going to be a good project. It's going to have strong fundamentals. It's going to have marketing behind it. Obviously still risks, but in this market, I mean, these projects are doing incredibly well.
So for the new projects, let's say that I wake up tomorrow, I decide to completely copycat AGA just because we have Tomas in the chat, and exactly like in the same reason, I need a platform like Ferrum to list my staking options, having like that ability of DeFi, basically like everything that you guys have mentioned on that. So as a new project, I'm not sure those are like public information or not, but still trying and asking questions on that. How does it work for a project? Like they get in contact with you, they obviously like explain everything and so on. In terms of like timeline, cost involved, documentation that needs to be provided, how is that entire process if someone is interested actually in doing something like that?
Yeah, sure. So we do get a lot of interest in the incubator. And then we also, by the way, just announced an advisory component, which is more or less the same thing. But in any event, teams regularly get in contact with us, either with respect to just the staking or maybe incubation plus staking. And, there's obviously they need to provide all the information that you would send to any investor. So white paper, website, token economic, all these things that any investor would want to see. And we analyze them. And frankly, we reject 99%. We reject almost every project that comes to us, not necessarily because they're bad, but because there's a very sort of particular kind of project we're looking for. And it has to be at a very particular moment in their life cycle. Like if they've already raised too much funds, it becomes very difficult to work with them. If they don't have much in the way of technology yet, we usually deem them to be too early stage. So what we're really looking for is projects with, first and foremost, a great team that's serious, with a track record of success in business. It doesn't have to be crypto necessarily. So strong team is really first and foremost. Secondly, the raise can't be too big. I mean, we've found there's a sweet spot when it comes to getting nice returns. And that's really, I mean, our primary objective here is to make sure our investors do well. So the raise needs to be reasonably sized, pretty on the smaller side. There needs to be some tech too, or at least close to tech that we can verify, right? It needs, so the fundamentals are really, really key. And then we, our job is to sort of smooth out the rough edges. If there's any things having to do with the website or something that just needs a little bit of sprucing up, fixing the token economics if it's necessary, and then just putting our full marketing weight behind it so that it gets great exposure. And we have a whole team of influencers who we work with. We obviously help, Ferrum and the DuckDAO communities help push it. But that's pretty much the process. I mean, it's a little bit informal in a sense. So if teams are interested, they can always just find me on Telegram, shoot me an email. There is a form that we, have on the Foundry website that teams fill out. So there's numerous ways that you can get in touch. But yeah, that's it. I mean, we're just looking for good projects at the end of the day.
That's awesome. One other question that is not related in any possible way to everything that we just discussed, but is one thing that I remember for the first time that we spoke, which was like that feature of like sharing the link and transferring cryptos, basically like just by having the link and so on. And I know that both me and Jordan got stuck in that because you not only need the token, but you need Ethereum as well to do that. But I remember that in our call, you mentioned that there was a plan to remove that thing, either like with a side chain or whatever thing that was involved. So my question is in a very simple way, is that thing ever going to happen?
That thing I think is you're referring to as the Ferrum mainnet.
Yes.
And, yeah, what that will do is basically there will still be gas fees, right? There'll always be gas fees, usually in crypto in some degree or another, if you're talking about decentralized network. The problem with Ethereum gas fees is just so expensive.
That's true.
And it's slow. So the Ferrum Network is something we will build in 2021. And what that will do, it'll allow you to pay that gas fee in Ferrum token itself, and the transaction will be faster. Yeah, we've been, and much cheaper. You know, our strategy around the mainnet was to build products first, get some adoption first, and then migrate those products onto the mainnet so that there's actual use of the mainnet. See, the problem with mainnets is that they rarely get used unless it's Ethereum.
That's true.
The ghost chain.
So that's the thing. Like we never wanted to rush that out and then launch something that didn't have any use case, really. So we're now finally getting to the point in the Ferrum ecosystem with the numerous products, strong user base, strong community, that we feel reasonably confident that by sometime this year when the mainnet's out, it'll have at least some early traction, and then we can grow from there. But yeah, I know it's been a long time coming. The one thing we haven't confident Ferrum is the Ferrum Network. So.
That's the thing. You're confident that it's gonna be in 2021 because in 6 months on the next call that we're gonna have, I'm gonna ask you again of that.
Don't hold me to it. But no, we had.
I will.
We've had a call recently about this, and the decision was made. Like, look, we have to build a mainnet. It's, you know, we can't keep just talking about this thing and not building it. It just doesn't, you know, it looks bad. So we have to get it done, and then just, you know, we got to push for adoption. That's it.
That's cool.
Kind of connected to that, Ian. We got a question from our friend Jay Hay. I'm sure I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
You know, right? He's asking of he hasn't asked you, but it was wondering what your focus will be this year: increasing demand on the 3 pre-existing DeFi tools, or creating new ones this year.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, we've gotten to a place now where the incubator and the staking as a service business, and also the African exchange, are all sort of running themselves. By the way, we just hired someone. We're hiring more people in Ferrum, by the way, because we're growing quite quickly. And so, yes, we'll still always have those businesses, and, you know, we're not going to abandon them because they're good businesses. But we want to get them to the place where they kind of run themselves, so to speak. And yes, the devs are always working on new technology or fixing things on the old stuff that need to get fixed. So we're definitely pushing forward. There's a really, really cool new we're calling it options derivative staking, at least for now, which I think is really going to open up it's sort of a whole new market for staked assets and your interest in pre-sales, which is sort of become our core lines of business. And basically the idea here is when you, so just say, for instance, the example of pre-sales. When you invest in a project, usually how it works is you get distributions of that project's tokens over the course of 3-4 months, whatever their vesting schedule is. So you as an investor have a right to a future distribution. What if there were a way to transfer your interest in those future distributions, but in a decentralized way, sort of a swap kind of environment, using a wrapped token, essentially? That's what options derivative staking will allow you to do. And you can do it not just for your interest in pre-sales, but also your interest in future staking rewards. Like if you stake on Ferrum, for example, you're earning interest. But what if you want to unstake, but you can't because it's locked? You're stuck right now. What if there were a way to transfer your interest to those future staking rewards using a wrapped token? This to me is massive, and it's going to open up huge new markets, secondary trading markets for all these different assets that you have a future interest in. So this is coming out, I think, pretty soon. And it's just one example of the way Ferrum is going to continue to push the envelope and always focus on new, we're going to be always focusing on new things, new innovative things. But the key is to do, to focus on things that's going to have value in the current market. Crypto changes so quickly. So you can't be stuck in the past. You got to be doing what's now. So yeah, I promise you we'll always be pushing forward on the dev side.
So I'm a bit thick. You get a futures market on a staking pool?
More or less. Yes,
Wow.
more or less.
Interest
yeah,
on interest, a future on an interest. And
yeah, I mean, it's pretty out there. But at the same time, like it kind of makes sense in a way too, right? Like,
yeah, you want liquidity on your interest. And
yeah, you're the owner of future disbursements or future stake tokens. Why shouldn't you be able to trade that interest away? Yeah. Currently, there is a huge market for this, by the way. You can sell your SAFT, basically. You can sell your pre-sale tokens on these like shady Telegram groups, over-the-counter groups. I don't really 100% know how they work. I think they're rife with scams, frankly.
Crypto,
but to my knowledge, there's been no decentralized way to trade your interest to future earnings.
How do you do that even centralized on Telegram?
Well, I think you can go in these groups and you can say, I have an allocation. I've invested in pools, for instance. The token hasn't come out yet, mind you. But I know I'm getting pools sent to me, every month for the next 4 months. So I can sell that SAFT essentially to somebody else over the counter. And that new person would get it. The problem is like,
it's a lot of trust.
There's just too many risks for scams and stuff in that situation.
Yeah.
And I think most of it is scammy, by the way, currently is what's going on. But I think it's a huge potential market for it. And what I love about it is it's consistent with our sort of existing strengths, which is staking and pre-sales. So this technology really feeds into both of those. So yeah, that's just an example. I don't know when it's going to be out, frankly. It's something I know we want to work on, we want to build, but just an example. I mean, when you asked, what's coming up, are you focusing on new stuff, old stuff? This came to mind as a new thing that we'll be building.
How many Ferrum do you need to be holding to get access to those pre-sales, Ian?
So we are constantly revising the holding requirement down as the price goes up. But currently, to get a guaranteed allocation in one of these projects, you need to hold 50,000 or more Ferrum in Unifier Wallet.
What's the dollar equivalent?
Oh, the dollar. So the dollar figure on that right now is probably about $14,000 worth of Ferrum.
Right.
Mind you, it was less about 3 weeks ago, but such is life. But
do you guys?
There's a lottery. There's a lottery tier as well. I should mention it. You hold 25,000 Ferrum. There's a chance you'll win a lottery to get into it. So,
are you trying to peg it to like a certain dollar value? Like 10K or something? Or?
Yeah, not like officially so much, but so we have a governance committee comprised of really, really smart guys. And we're always looking for ways to, incentivize new people to come into the Ferrum ecosystem, but at the same time, not prejudicing those who already, invest in or are already holding based on previous promises that we made. So it's a very difficult sort of balancing act there. But at the end of the day, what ends up happening is we end up revising down the holding requirement to get into that first tier, and then maybe make that tier smaller so you get a smaller allocation. But at least now it's like more affordable for new people.
Yeah.
But it's hard. It's a hard thing to do.
Cool.
Excellent. Well, we're coming up on an hour 20 here, guys. Any additional questions from yourself, Mr. Gonzo or Stefano, for either Tomas or Ian?
Oh, good from my side.
All good from your side. You're still happily holding both these projects.
Yeah. At the moment, I still have both of them.
Yep.
Smart move.
We got them all locked up.
You
It
better do
it
like
has been
another.
a smart move. All three of us have certainly held. It's great to have you guys back on.
No financial advice. I give you both of you another 2 months to do another 10x of selling everything.
Exactly.
No pressure.
Bad
No
mouthing.
No pressure.
Good.
Yeah, and you're nipping at the Argo tokens' heels with your price performance there, Ian. So we'll be monitoring who's head of the pack.
We always knew AGA was going to do well because the fundamentals just made too much sense.
Yeah.
Right. Especially in a bullish market where Bitcoin skyrockets and all of a sudden Tomas is making a ton of money, right, to buy back the token. So AGA was one of those projects, and Ferrum too, where it was just like patience. Just have patience. Things are going to work out. The thing is, most people don't have patience in crypto, so they usually most people miss out on these things.
Yeah, they usually sell the week before or the month before it starts moving.
That's it.
Yeah,
No
exactly.
patience, but
That despair is like, oh, I gotta sell. That's like the sure sign that in a week or two it's gonna move, and you're gonna kick yourself if you give into that. Especially if you've done your due
Absolutely.
diligence and look closely at fundamentals and you understand, like, believe in why you initially bought. The price action changes people's minds so much. I'm fundamental, investor, blah 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 blah. A couple months of red and people like, oh, maybe it's not so fundamentally good.
You start questioning yourself.
What do you
Yeah,
mean
exactly.
couple of months of red? We've done like 3 years of red. Like a couple of months? Like
What
I
are you
would be
talking about?
super chill.
2020 was pretty bullish, man.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, we've done 2.5 years.
Yeah.
yeah, I think
2020.
if you look at who's the most successful in this industry from an investor standpoint, it's the guys who like lost their Bitcoin and then found it 5 years later. So what does that tell you? Like,
Yeah.
just
Yep.
hold on. Like, just
Don't
hold
do
on.
anything.
Yeah. Now, obviously, not all alts are created equal, so that doesn't necessarily apply to all altcoins. Man, if you can find some good undervalued ones with strong fundamentals that are really active, you can be reasonably sure that it's going to perform well over a given time. So,
Gonna create a new DApp that hides your keys for you for 5 years. Please enter your private key. Okay, it's lost. Come back in 5 years.
Genius. All right, guys. Hey, listen. We're in addition to the recorded 1BTC 32 ETH show, we're obviously going to be doing these AMAs on a regular. This is kind of the first one we've done, actually. So, look, both of you are more than welcome to jump on with us at any time. It's been a pleasure to have you both back. And look, congratulations on the success of both of your projects so far. We're obviously going to be tracking you on the weekly. We'll continue to do that. But yeah, we're trying to add value to our audience, and it's a real pleasure to have some projects on that have really done well. And long may that be the case.
And did not
it's
do
good
a
to be
rug
back.
pull.
Mhm.
It did not.
Yeah. Hey,
No.
Ian. Speaking
you,
of rug
guys.
pulls, we've kind of all got bit by the PAMP bug.
yeah, I
That
dodged that bullet.
Oh yeah,
Although we were going to do their staking,
right. Yeah, I
and
remember
actually, it was strange. They paid us, but they never followed up. And I was like, we're too busy. So if a project pays us and doesn't follow up, I'm like,
that. Free money.
that's a low priority for me.
Yeah.
So we never launched their staking, thank God. But it looked like a good project. I mean, that one took everyone by surprise, and it just goes to show, like, man, with these anonymous projects, you really can never know.
Sean actually sold before the rug pull. He was like, I don't like this
Smart,
anon
good.
dev bullshit, blah 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 blah, and he was a smart guy in the bunch here.
Yeah, I mean, we don't work with anonymous teams at all anymore, partially for that reason.
Yeah.
We have,
Fair enough.
well, I shouldn't say ever. We have very, very strict rules, even with the staking, by the way. Even to get the staking, you need to, if you are anonymous, you need to demonstrate you have actual technology like out. So unfortunately, PAMP still would have made it in, but it's tough. It's a tough balancing act, but we become a lot more strict with the anon teams.
Oh, that's good. That's cool. Thanks.
Yeah, well, I haven't discussed it with the guys yet, but there's actually a project we like that we've all held at various stages and continue to do so. I think at the moment, I'm pretty sure we've all got it. I won't mention their name, but yeah, they're giving me a bit of pushback about coming on camera. So after the PAMP experience, On that note, Ian, what are some of the other sort of criteria that you guys look at when you're taking on a project?
Yeah, so like I said, I mean, first and foremost is the team. I think, why is that important?
You need to be able to see them then, so they can't be anonymous.
Well, yeah, you certainly can't. Yeah, as an incubator, you can't be anonymous. And in fact, you need to have a CEO or someone on the team who's like willing to go on camera and promote the project. That's very important in crypto, I think. But in terms of the team, why is it important? Well, crypto moves so quickly that your initial idea, your initial vision, it might be great, but it could be irrelevant in 2 months. And so you got to be able to pivot. You got to be flexible, and you have to have the ability to do that. You have to have the team around you to actually execute on new ideas and stuff. And Tomas is a great example. By the way, Tomas was the one who inspired us to do FerrumX.
Oh, really?
So everyone
Nice.
who did FerrumX, by the way, started at 20 and it now is at about $5,000. So anyone who made money off FerrumX, you got to thank Tomas.
All right. Wow, 20 to 5,000.
Yeah, that was a nice run.
Yeah, well, it's a super low supply, right? What's the supply, Ian? Like 33,000?
Yeah, so I'm trying to wrap my head around why that happened, how it happened.
Low
It's
supply,
crazy.
man.
I think it really does come down to the token economics. But we did what's called a fair launch. We call it fair launch. There was no pre-sale, so there was no investors who got it cheap, who could sell, for essentially and push the price down. So that was a part of it. The other part of it was not just the low total supply, but a really low initial circulating supply. We only launched with, I think we put 825 FerrumX onto Uniswap to start.
Cool.
More came in circulation because we ended up airdropping one FerrumX to each person who held 100,000 Ferrum in their Unifier wallet, which resulted in more tokens hitting the market. That airdrop at the time was worth a total $200,000. Now it would be worth like $4 million or $6 million airdrop.
Wow.
So people, if they held on, we sent them out. It was 400, and now it's what it's at. Some people held, some didn't. But anyway, I think it was largely that, but it was also the utilities. The utilities are critical, because if you can't just have a really rare thing with no use and expect it to do well. It doesn't make sense. So
I think you caught some good timing there too, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
Like
the market.
Right when Uniswap was going retarded and people were just like buying everything, and right, like there was stuff going 300-400% like daily, right?
Yeah. The market has such a tremendous impact on everything that it's, we can't sit here and pretend it's all things that we do. But with that, I mean, you still need those things. You need the token economics was key. The utilities were key. So what are the utilities? For one, holding it gets access to, if you hold enough, you get access to the Ferrum Governance Committee. And the Governance Committee actually does a lot of meaningful things. And they have a lot of power in Ferrum. Like, they're the ones who help come up with staking rounds and the APYs involved and the time limits involved. They help us come up with the Iron Mountain initiative. They're helping us with the NFT thing that's coming up. So like the governance committee in Ferrum is empowered to do a lot, to make a big impact. And I think it's very appealing to people who are interested in the Ferrum ecosystem and they have the money to get to qualify to get in. So that was one. The other thing too is if you hold FerrumX, you get bigger allocations in these pre-sales. So it's kind of like a pre-sale multiplier in a sense. So again, if you have the means and you're trying to, you know, and you know the pre-sale project at a 15x, it's like, maybe I should grab a couple FerrumX to make my allocation, you know, 50% bigger, because it's going to pay, that investment's just going to pay off.
Right.
So that's the thing, right? So we added good utilities, but still, I mean, it did a 300x. It's insane. It doesn't make it doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
I just saw the all-time high was 6,900. That's crazy. From
Absolutely
a $20 token.
Absolutely crazy. But yeah, I mean, it's all the credit to the governance committee too, because they're the ones who helped structure these utilities. So it all came together.
Yeah, kind of crowdsourced, right? That's great.
Yeah, we're big believers in getting the community involved. I'll always be sort of the face of Ferrum, so to speak, but there's so many people in the background who just add tons and tons and tons of value, and I'm grateful for them every day, really.
Sweet.
Awesome. Well, listen, we're very grateful for the two of you coming along and giving us a bit of time. Look, as I say, congratulations, guys. Project's going well. We'll continue to follow you on the regular and definitely have you back on in the near future.
Beautiful. Thank you, guys.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much, Thomas. Thank you, Ian.
Good night. Yeah.
And thank you all for watching. We'll be back with just starting these AMAs, so let people know about it, and we'll see you all next week.